Donald Trump, 45, has been convicted on 34 counts, and he is now a felon. And now, as we approach election season, we have to start thinking about who we're going to vote. As believers, it's not really a foregone conclusion. It shouldn't be a foregone conclusion. We should take our time to be objective and look at the facts. But we have to think about who are we going to vote for. And in this video, I'm going to talk about some politics, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, the U.S., and where we should or could vote in 2024. But before I start, please don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video. If you want challenging Christian content, this is your home, Faith Talk with Pastor Ron. So please don't forget, again, like, subscribe, and share this video and this podcast. So this past Friday, Donald Trump, 45, was convicted of 34 different counts. He is now a convicted felon. And it's not something to celebrate, or I'm not trying to make a political point, but I think it shows a lot about the U.S. when a person who's a convicted felon still has the ability to hold the highest office in the land and to run for president, but they can't vote in certain states. They can't hold certain jobs. You can hold a job of a president, but you can't hold the job of working at certain companies and establishments. This shows the level of inadequacy, the level of a lack of equity within this country, where people are following and observing laws and enacting laws that make no sense. And let's call it what it is. I think a lot of these laws have a racial undertone. I'm not the guy to sit here and call everything racist. But I think what happens is that when they initially created this law, this was to prevent the middle and lower class, those who often have the felonies, from growing and getting better. It was a mechanism to control a certain segment of the population. And I'm quite sure that our forefathers never thought that a president or person that is holding public office would also be a convicted felon. So yeah, you know what folks often ask, what does this mean, him being convicted for these felonies? Nothing. He's still the candidate for president. He'll still go into the convention as a candidate for president. In all likelihood, he's not going to go to jail and spend any hard time. He's going to probably get a slap on the wrist. But I think a lot of it was an attempt to label him as a felon and to have another rallying point. Does it matter? Should it matter? Listen, it depends on the person. What it appears that's happening in 2024 in the United States and many other countries, folks don't care about your character anymore. Folks don't care about your criminal background. What have you done for me lately? That's what a majority of Trump supporters, a majority of people are pretty much saying, listen, I don't care what you do. And you know what's crazy? Years ago, Trump said this. He said this. He said, yo, I can go and shoot someone in Times Square and my folks will still vote for me. Like, he predicted this happening. So he doesn't really care. Like, these are just photo ops. If you look at his pictures when he's in court and his little stoic look and his press conferences and statements that he's getting, he's actually low-key loving this type of attention. And he wants to use this as him being a victim and as this being a rallying cry. And it's funny when people try to tell me that Trump is a victim. Trump is not a victim. Guys, Trump did not have a struggle. This one lady tweeted me. He was like, hey, Trump is a perfect story of a man that had a struggle and figured his way out or got himself out of his own struggle. His dad gave him $1 million when he was 18, bro. He did not struggle. A lot of his failures were self-created. And that he had no choice but to figure things out. He had no choice when all his handouts and he burned bridges and he had no other way of doing it. He had to find another way. Him being president is his latest hustle. This is not like, oh, I care about this country and I want to make sure this country. Nah, this is all about his ego. It's all about a hustle. It's all about him scamming people. And he realized that he has the right party and the right time and the right group of people to do it. Most of the people who surrounded him in his cabinet and his team and his inner circle are all convicted felons. So why are we surprised that this is the outcome? And what frustrates me a lot and what bothers me a lot are the people who, some are Christian, non-Christian, that sit here and want to use the whole justice platform. Oh, this is not justice. This is justice. Justice says the law, what justice means is the following. You are following and you are adhering to the laws of the land. Donald Trump did not have a public trial and one single person decided his fate. He had his God-given right of a public trial and was judged by 12 of his peers. 12 of his peers, which is the law, which is what is due to him, and 12 of his peers convicted him of these crimes. So where is the victimhood? Where's the lack of justice? You could every trial, because you want to nitpick or find something to make folks feel bad for you about. You can find anything in every single trial that you don't agree with. But this is justice. Ultimately, 12 people, 12 of his peers sealed his fate. That is justice. Injustice is saying, you know what? We are not going to acknowledge, we are not going to respect the outcome of the law. That is injustice. So again, if you are those who are sitting here want to throw God and say Christ and et cetera, Christ and God are ones of justice. They are gods of justice. They believe that we have to be just and follow the laws of the land. That's justice. As unpopular as this may seem, when people say, yo, Christ supported slavery, no, Christ did not support slavery. What Christ did, he came in and found the laws and he supported the law. The law at the time was that slavery was the type of employment, the type of structure within society. So Christ did not sit here and want to and become a rebel and say, hey, do not follow the laws of the land. That will create chaos. That will create anarchy. And God's not a God of chaos. He actually brings peace to chaos. So those that say, oh my God, how could you support a God who supports slavery? No, I support a God who supports justice. Not saying slavery was right or wrong. Christ never said slavery was right or it was wrong. What he was saying was regulating the law and supporting justice. This is the law of the land. And if you are a slave, obey your masters. That is the law of the land. He was upholding the law because he supports justice. Right? He's a God of justice. Not a God of anarchy, not a God of rebellion. He does challenge thinking. He does challenge groups, but he does not promote rebellion. Because God says in the Old Testament that rebellion is equal to witchcraft. So why would Christ incite or support rebellion? Slavery was the law of the land. That was the law, and he supports the law. Same thing with Donald Trump. This is the law of the land. Fair, unfair, good or bad, we must learn to observe and respect and adhere to the law. If you do not want to do that, you do not support justice. And if we're honest, this has been the reality for Black people for such a long time. We've had so many instances where the justice system was not stacked fairly against us. So before you cry and complain about how unfair and why is the court system such a way, the system has been stacked against us for a very long time. Not just Black people, but Hispanics, Asians, the poor, women. Different segments of the country have been slighted by the justice system. This is why many people do not trust law enforcement, do not trust the justice system. So we have to understand what is going on here. This is the system that we have. It's flawed. It may be open to interpretation, but this is the law. And if we are to claim that we are for justice for all, right? Pledge of Allegiance, justice for all, then we have to also believe that we have to adhere to it, good or bad. Good or bad. So this is his fate. This is what's going on. Do I think there is some work on the other side to make sure this happen? Of course. Of course. Why, if you had this opportunity to do it, you'd do it. But the reason that they have the opportunity is because Trump did something wrong. If he didn't do anything wrong, there'll be nothing to prosecute. I don't see Joe Biden going to trial for campaign finance issues. I don't see Bill Clinton or Bill Clinton probably is a bad example because he has a lot of dirt. I don't see Barack Obama, George Bush having to go on trial for hush money for paying off a porn star. I don't see that. He did it. So now we want to say, oh, it's not that big of a deal, do not prosecute him. But if he didn't do it, then he wouldn't have to worry about what's happening. And a lot of it is the fact that people sat here and he sat here and did this. He didn't get unfairly convicted. He convicted himself by doing it. So how could we sit here and say now we want to have a level of, let's not sit here and acknowledge the behavior. Let's ignore it. Let's be rebels. Again, the Bible says rebellion is witchcraft. So I don't know if you really want to do that because you're going against the will of God and the word of God. So I just wanted to make sure and to see how things are. And this is, I think, with this being done, I think we are officially, and I believe either in June or July, there's going to be a debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. We are beginning for the next 5-6 months, a very, very interesting time when it comes to the politics. The election has become a very big religious topic as well, because Christians are saying that this is also a vote for morality. I've said this in the past, and I'm going to say this again. It is not the state's job to control morality. It's not the president's job to regulate morality. It is the church's job. So we cannot sit here and expect the state to do our job. We as the believers, we as the body of Christ, we are supposed to be the standard bearer in this world by our behavior, by how the church is functioning, by our leaders. We are supposed to be at a place where we are the standard bearer. So I think we need to understand that this is not a vote on morality. It is not the president's job to regulate morality. It's the church's job. And the church is so jacked up and it's failing in morality. So now we're looking to the country, to our political leaders to help bail us out. No, it's the church. The job of the state is to represent and uphold the laws of the land and to protect the people of the land. It's to make sure everyone has their rights and freedoms not violated. It's to promote a level of economic stability and stimulus as well when needed. It is not to regulate morality. It is not to say if abortions are wrong. It is not to say if LGBTQ issues, that's wrong. There are certain things I believe that we need the state not to meddle in. For example, gender affirmation. If the state is going to regulate laws and say that children are able to change genders, quote unquote, which is not possible because God gives you gender. You cannot change your gender. You are who you are based on your organs internally and what God called you. But to attempt to change their gender, then that's the issue. If the state is at a point where it's trying to create rules and regulations that's preventing me from being a parent to my children, that's an issue. A church, if the state is at a point where I could get fined or in trouble for not doing a gay wedding or not calling a person who's transgendered into what they identify as, then that's a problem. But in order to regulate morality, it is not the state's job. It's the church's job. It's the church's job at the very core to make sure children are taught and know what's right and what's wrong. It's important that parents get support, that we create a place for parents and teach parents how to have these conversations so that this trick of the enemy about kids changing their gender is not supported nor tolerated by the kids because they have the right foundation. The reason why the state's able to do these things, because the home, there's no foundation in the home. There's no, parents are not there. They're not having conversations. The church is not doing their part. So a lot of what happens, guys, is the fact that the church is not doing its job. So now we're looking for Trump or Biden to help raise our children. That's whack. It's a government's job. I make sure I talk to my kids every day. I make sure they know what's right and what's wrong and what God says and what the devil says. They know this. I make sure I do my job as a parent for my children. So when they go into the schools, when they watch things on TikTok that says to the contrary, they know that's not right and they dismiss it. So do your job. Church, do your job. Pastor, do your job. Mom, dad, do your job. And stop looking for the government to fix it. So then we sit here and then we're thinking like, when I look at the landscape, I don't feel right voting for Donald Trump. And here's my reasons. He is a racist, and that's personal to me because he called my country, my people, Haiti, an ish-hole country, right? By him saying that, he was dismissed in my book and never recanted nor apologized from it. Look throughout his history of racist things he said and racist undertones that he has done. If we look at something called Project 2025, I would talk more in depth about this at another time. This is pretty much a movement that is to make America more white and more conservative. And the very first chess move they have in Project 2025 is electing Donald Trump. And those people that you don't know about, the dark figures behind the scenes, they're going to appoint judges, appoint justices, enact laws, create things within society to make America more conservative and more white. One of the things that they're going to do is that they're going to sit here and one of their desires is to restrict freedoms. For example, ban pornography. Not saying pornography is good. Pornography is dangerous, right? And here's how things get twisted and get gaslighted. I think pornography is disgusting, it's dangerous, and it's not of God. It's destructive, and it's not of God. But I also don't think that we have a right to restrict people's freedom. If God does not restrict our freedom, who are we to restrict people's freedom? God gives folks free will and free choice to approach things how they want. So why should a government sit here and say, we're going to ban pornography because it's wrong? The latter is correct. It is wrong. It's disgusting and it's dangerous. But it's not the government's job to control people's freedom. And that's what this project wants to do. It wants to create more control and make everyone like them. Make the country like them. They also want to have one of the biggest mass deportation projects ever. Ever. And you know who they're going to deport? Hispanics, Haitians, Africans, anyone that does not look like them. They're not going to deport the Europeans. Nah, they're not going to do it. They're going to go against those of Arab descent, but they're not going to deport anyone that looks like them in order to make this country a certain way. So that is something that we have to look at. Also, I'm a big character guy. I think that a president, a leader, a church leader should be a person of high character. And I don't think Donald Trump is high character. And I have a tough time. Yeah, I'm going to get feedback from folks saying you're not a Christian, you're a fake pastor because you support Biden. I'm not. The difference between me and most people, I think Biden's just as bad, if not worse than Trump. I think the things that they're doing, the laws that they're passing, the things that they're pushing onto society and culture is disgusting. You know, a lot of LGBTQ, a lot of just rules and laws that they don't restrict freedom, but they just impose on my freedoms because it just opened doors, a floodgate. And do I think Biden should be? I can't answer that. I don't know if I can even vote for Biden. Like honestly, I wish we had a better third choice. I don't want to sit out of an election, but I think Trump and Biden are not good choices. Biden's too old, bro. Yo, let's call a spade. Biden,